Hi, it's Maggie the Irish Gypsy here to bring you your August 2019 mid-month reading. We're looking at the last couple of weeks, the last half of August. Welcome to everyone here, newcomers, first-timers. Welcome back to followers and subscribers. And thank you for taking the time to tune in today. And for those of you who send in your support, feedback, and comments, thank you so much. Always welcome, always appreciated. And always a big shout out to all of my clients out there, regular clients, new clients. You guys keep me so busy all the time. I always want to take a minute to express my gratitude for the trust you place in me to do readings for you, and for continuing to come back time and time again. Thank you so much. If any of you are interested in scheduling a personal reading with me, live or recorded, you can get more info and contact details by clicking on the description link below, or going to my YouTube channel's homepage and click on the little About button there. Please feel free to email me directly at maggie1mcguire@gmail.com. I would be delighted to work with you. I can usually respond to initial inquiries with more info the same day or within the first 24 hours. And scheduling, which I hear often is an issue, trying to schedule with psychics during a time frame where the subject matter is still relevant. I'm pretty diligent at working with other people's schedules and my own. I am blessed to be able to do readings full-time, 6 days a week, sometimes more. So I work pretty hard at getting people readings as quickly as possible. So if you're interested, send me an email and I'd be happy to set something up for you. I do a wide variety of readings in all areas of life. Okay, let's move into this reading. This is for the fire sign of Leo. Our lovely, luscious lions for the last half of August 2019. Let's see what the remainder of August has in store for our Leos. Okay, Leo, we begin with the Two of Swords, followed by the Four of Swords. We have the Five of Swords, followed by the Page of Wands. From the bottom of the deck, overall energy, focus, and or the challenge is the Two of Wands. So Leo, the overall energy, focus, or challenge for the last half of August 2019 is, where do I go from here? The Two of Wands represents being at a crossroads, needing to make a decision or trying to figure out between two choices or two paths. One of the helpful pieces of advice in dealing with the energy of the Two of Wands is, when you're thinking about what path to take towards something, is focusing on the long-term goals. The Two of Wands is preceded, of course, by the Ace of Wands, which is the idea, the spark, could be the beginning of something new, or the idea. Twos and threes are about the choices we make, whether to go down a certain road and how to begin to put things together. So the Two of Wands represents needing to make a choice, perhaps on an idea you've had recently, or how to start something, or how to have a new beginning in something, but you're not sure. Some of you might not be sure as to whether this is a road you really want to walk, or if so, how you want to do it. The key with the Two of Wands is in long-term thinking and planning. So in order to know what steps to take or what path to begin to go down now, it's helpful to look down the road at what exactly in this area of your life, because this is a general reading. We always advise you to watch your rising sign, moon sign, Venus signs, if you know them, if you can, because they can provide additional clarification. Sometimes they play out a little more predictively at different times. So the Two of Wands is about long-term thinking and planning. So regardless of what area of your life this resonates in, what goals, long-term goal or vision or dream or idea do you have down the road in this area of your life? And that will help narrow down the choices that you need to make to walk towards something. For example, if perhaps in relationships. If your long-term goal or your long-term vision of relationships is to be married to someone, to build a home, a life, possibly a family or a future with someone, but marriage is kind of your ultimate goal in relationships, then you wouldn't want to invest in dating and building relationships with anybody who wasn't also interested in that same thing, because it would only lead to heartbreak and heartache. In terms of job, work, and career, if your long-term goal is to be in a certain place a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, then you want to take the steps down a path that's going to clearly lead you to that goal or towards that goal. So it's a card about perhaps pausing to take a look at, okay, what decisions do I need to make? Well, I need to make whatever decisions propel me towards my long-term goal in what area of this life this resonates in. Don't make any decisions or choose a path that you don't feel has a good chance of leading you either to your long-term goal or towards your long-term goal. So it looks like you may feel a little stuck around the middle of August or so. We have the Two of Wands and the Four of Swords. Sorry, the Two of Swords and the Four of Swords. You have 3 sword card here and 2 wands. So some of you, this might be in job, work, and career. Some of you, it might be with a project of some kind. It could always be in love and relationships too. But there's this sense of feeling stuck and kind of taking a step back from whatever the problem or issue is. I do feel with the Five of Swords and the Page of Wands, some of you may be having difficulty dealing with, there may be some problems around a young person or child. I don't always feel that way about pages. They can represent messages and messengers as well. But I feel like for some of you, there is a specific issue or difficulty or battle or fight or an ongoing problem with a young person or a child or someone who's acting in a very immature way. And I feel like this may have something to do with your decisions or feeling stuck. For some of you, it's just going to be a separate issue. But I feel like you're taking a step back from some kind of conflict. The Two of Swords can represent feeling stuck. You have 2 twos in this reading, so it's all about, for the last half of August, where am I going? What decisions do I need to make? The Two of Swords can represent feeling stuck and not knowing. The blindfold can indicate that. But this is often the head stuck in the sand card. I often feel that there's something that you're missing or that you don't want to look at. Your intuition, because the swords are crossed over, you can see this vague outline of the moon, which can point towards, perhaps deep fears or spirituality or intuition. There's something in front of you that either you're not ready to look at, you don't want to look at. There's some reluctance or resistance to looking at something because, once we take the blindfold off and acknowledge something, look at something, the 800-pound gorilla in the corner of our living room that, we dust around and we know it's there, we see it out of the corner of our eye, but as long as we don't actually directly confront it or directly look at it, we don't have to acknowledge its existence. And because once the blindfold comes off and we take a look at whatever it is we're not willing to look at, then of course comes the responsibility to take action or to make a decision about it. So there's something in front of you, or it could be an answer, a solution, or just a truth or a clarity about something, because swords is about mental energy, how we look at things that you don't want to see or you don't want to see for the truth of what it is. And that's further clarified by the Four of Swords, which is a card of taking a step back from some kind of temporary conflict or battle or challenge, because you're tired, you're worn out, exhausted. You need to take a break from this. You need to take a step back and perhaps get a different perspective, which might not be a bad idea, because when we're in the midst of feeling, emotionally overwhelmed and tired or fatigued, it's not the best time to make we don't tend to make the wisest decisions during that time. So it looks like around the middle of August or so, maybe around the 3rd week, timing always being a bit fluid. There's this sense of you're not sure. It may be that you may have decided to walk down a specific path prior to this, like it could be in relationship, it could be in job. And now maybe some issues have come up and you're not sure if you want to continue walking down this path, if these are going to be a problem, but you don't really want to make a decision about it. You don't really want to look at the entire thing and deal with it right now. So for the time being, you're taking a time out, a step back from whatever this conflict is. Now next we have the Five of Swords and the Page of Wands. Now the Five of Swords is a card that represents winning. But sometimes it can represent winning at the cost of leaving people behind, and sometimes that can be good and sometimes that cannot be good. You can see that this man has just finished a battle, a challenge of some kind. Might be a fight or an argument, because swords do represent words and ideas based on how we think and what our belief systems are. So this man is won. He's gathered up all his opponent's weapons. He's holding his own aloft in victory. But the colors are still a bit on the bleak and grim side. He looks tired, worn out, exhausted. He's bleeding from a cut on his forehead. This has not been an easy struggle, an easy battle, or an easy argument, even though he is technically the victor. And sometimes this represents a hard-won victory, and it might mean that you have to leave certain people or certain relationships behind, as represented by the people on the ground. So the accompanying, which can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what the situation is, depending on what your story is. Sometimes this can represent winning at all costs. Like sometimes I've seen this card come up when someone is so driven and so ambitious at work that they don't care who they step on up the ladder of success. So it can represent that as well. Sometimes it represents that in order to achieve victory, which may not at the time feel like victory, it means you have to move away from selfish or exploitive people, which can be difficult and challenging, but it always leads to a better place. So the accompanying question is this battle worth it? Is it worth fighting? Has it been worth it? Etc. Now it's clarified by the Page of Wands, which can sometimes represent messages, messengers. Pages have that youthful, being at the introductory start of a path sort of energy. And I feel like, again, I'm getting a strong sense of a specific story for somebody, or maybe a few of you out there, that there has been some difficulty with a young person or someone who is acting immaturely. And it looks like at or by the end of August, there is some kind of win here. But whether or not it's worth like the fighting and the arguing may be another story. And it might be that you may have to walk away from the situation because of this person. And I think that's part of what you're not willing to look at right now, Leo. Because that Five of Swords, that hard-won victory and perhaps leaving people behind, is sitting right next to the Two of Swords too. So it may be that, I mean, I feel like you started something new recently, or you had, there was probably some kind of ending or some kind of change or transformation, and you started off on a new path, made a decision to start off on a new path. But it's like right after you started, there's this, I mean, in relationships, for example, Leo, it could be that you made a decision to walk a deeper level of commitment or an established relationship with someone, perhaps even marriage or something of that sort. And it could be that maybe issues around children, your kids or their kids or something of that sort, someone acting immaturely may have cropped up, and you're like, well, I don't know if I want to deal with this or not. You know, is this going to be an ongoing situation? If so, is this something I really want to continue or not? Am I willing to sign on for this in order to continue walking down this path? But I just don't think that it's something that, I don't think that that possibility is something that you're willing to look at directly at this time, for those of you for whom that resonates. For others of you, if you're in conflict, because I do feel like this is a specific conflict with a specific person who is either a young person or they're acting in a very immature, maybe irrational sort of way. And if this is still ongoing, I think that for the time being, you should withdraw and particularly not engage in any verbal conflicts at this time. So let's pull some advice cards to see what Spirit is indicating might be the most useful energy to access or steps to take during the last half of August 2019 for Leo. I often feel when this Two of Swords comes up, Leo, that something needs to be looked at, but accompanied by the Four of Swords and kind of how I'm feeling about the the rest of these cards, how they relate to each other, I think that maybe withdrawing and not making a definitive decision right now is a good thing. Advice and guidance. Seven of Swords, and right behind it is the Eight of Swords. So advice and guidance from Spirit. The Seven of Swords, sometimes called the Deception card or the Sneaky card, the Thief card. This card gets a bad rap sometimes. Sometimes it can represent deception and lies and being sneaky. It can represent also needing to operate in secrecy or do something undercover in order to, you know, like play your cards close to your chest, not really revealing what you're doing or thinking or the plans that you're making in order to achieve a goal. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as it doesn't harm you or anybody else, because we don't want to engender or build any negative karmic debt for ourselves. So it's definitely about keeping something to yourself for this time period, and what that is the Ace of Swords. This is perhaps a new idea or a new epiphany, a new way of looking at this situation, or perhaps just seeing the situation in its truth and clarity, you know, for the reality of what it is. But keeping that to yourself for the time being, which I think you're doing, because we have the Two of Swords, we have the Ace of Swords and the Two of Swords. So, you know, here's the new idea, here's the information, here's the clarity coming in, but I don't know if I really want to look at this yet. I don't want to act on this yet. I'm not sure what I need to do. And I feel like this energy of maybe withdrawing and not getting involved in this conflict any further, at least for this time period, because this represents a temporary withdrawal. He's still got most of his armor on, but he's just taking a time out, a step back from it. Whatever it is that you may be seeing and thinking, I think for this time period, which is short, we're looking at just the last half of August here, I think you should keep it to yourself for now and not make any specific decisions on, you know, whether or not you want to continue down this path or not. It seems to be what Spirit is indicating. And whatever truths you might be seeing, or ideas or information or truths you might be seeing, because this is coming up as advice, I feel like even if there is somebody that you need to share this with or express this to, I don't feel like now is the right time. I think that for now, it's about keeping it to yourself. Kind of a time out sort of period, Leo. So that pretty much represents your reading for the last half of August 2019. I hope that it's been helpful and useful to you, Leo. If this reading resonated for you, or if any of the readings resonate for you and you'd like to take a deeper look at it or schedule a reading with me, please feel free to email me directly at Maggie1McGuire@gmail.com. I would be most happy to work with you. You can click on the description link below for more info and contact details. I offer, as I said before, a wide variety of readings: love and romance, relationship compatibility readings, which uses specific spreads that takes a look at the different dynamics and aspects of each person in a specific relationship. Career, work, and finance readings, investment readings, gift readings, and I also do 6 and 12-month overviews, which take a look at what's coming in your life over the next 6 or 12 months in all the main areas, depending on how far ahead you want to look. So there's a few things to choose from for those of you who are interested. I look forward to hearing from you. I will see you all again in a couple of weeks, Leo, for the September general readings. September already, for the September 2019 general readings. Until then, as always, I wish you joy, peace, blessings, and a happy life. Take care, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Bye-bye.